Hi and welcome back to my playthrough of Dawn of the Zeds in the 3rd edition using the basic game rules. As I only played one single round in my first episode, there was not really much going on, but of course those guys are nearly dead. Unfortunately, I was not able to flip this zombie horde down there, and we also see a relatively large zombie horde or a mob shambling towards Farmingdale here, and I already got one piece of advice, and this says put those tokens next to each other so you really see what's basically coming. But I guess let's start into round number 2 by drawing our event card. And here we see some well-armed civilians, so we do have an event, but first of all we have to deal with a zombie track. So we see one movement here on the, I think it's the forest track, yeah, that should be it, and one movement or activation on the mountain track. So let's advance those guys and all of this single horde with a strength of 7. I think that wasn't that bad overall, so we can jump directly into our actions here. So we get 2 actions for this round, event actions, which isn't that bad, and we also get the well-armed marker, which we can place on any regular civilians unit in play, and as long as this token is basically on this regular civilians unit, they get basically a right shift in hand-to-hand and gunfire combat until they end up in the cemetery. So overall that's not too bad, and I'm really thinking of assigning this token here to those guys, because right now this is the biggest threat that's coming towards Farmingdale. Not sure that's really the best idea, but this is how I will do that. Then let's assign the event actions for this round, and then we are basically good to go with our player actions. I think first of all I want to activate Captain Piazza here, so, and therefore I will use her normal player action, or my normal player action token. It really doesn't matter, but in this case I will do that. I believe I will spend 1 ammo, so I will not use her special ability which lets her build her own ammunition. Let's still check the gunfire attack matrix here. We are still at strength 4 because we are still 2 spaces away. So in this case we are really looking for a 10 or 11 or even higher. This would be ideal, but in this case also 1 hit would basically make the zombie unit flip around, which would be already some kind of a victory. So let's roll the dice and hope for something good. That's a 9, I think, a 9. Still only 2 hits, but the first hit will flip this unit and then it gets 1 more hit. So 2 more hits and this unit is down. But what's really more important, this zombie horde is now reduced to a strength of 3. So I think that's much easier for our poor civilians here to defeat, that's for sure. Next we will use the initiative token from Deputy Schmidt, so basically his own character action, and I think I will let him move here to lefty pass in order to help those guys defeat those guys here. And I think with our first event action I will spend 1 ammunition to shoot towards those guys. He has a strength of 4, so we already know what we have to roll. Basically, I think a 10 would be ideal. Let's see, that's a 10. Awesome, those are 3 hits, which is pretty much enough to flip them to the other side. They still have a strength of 5 now, but I think that's much better than the strength of 7 they had before. So I'm not sure if I want to shoot again, to be honest, or if I want to take that risk, because he gets a right shift anyway, he can re-roll. So I think this path seems to be pretty secure for now. So I think with the remaining event action, I want to move Sheriff Hunt closer to those guys, because he can still use his leadership ability. And I think, yeah, let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he will end up here at the farm. Then he will spend his leadership character action. And I think with that he will give those guys a command to move up there 1 and 2. So right now we have a pretty good fighting force here at St. Thomas. He would also be allowed to shoot at a range of 2, but he would then get a left shift for that. But I think overall this is definitely something we could live with for now. And I guess this is pretty much it. So let's discard the event card. Let's flip all those tokens back and let's dive into round number 3. And now we are already in Act 2, so you see 2 little stars here, and this would be the Suburbs Night Assault. We got 2 actions, that's at least something. So let's see, we see 1 activation on the Suburbs track, but first of all, at the beginning of this phase, we would get +1 infection. We are not playing with infection, so we are good here. But we have to place a new Zeds unit on the Suburbs X track start space. And I think I didn't really mention it, I only left a comment on the video. This symbol here only is, let's say, applying when playing with a co-op rule, so with more than 1 player action tokens basically. So let's place a new zombie token here on the Suburbs track. That's only a 4. I think we are lucky here, but unfortunately those guys will now activate and they will move forward to the Farmingdale University, and because of the event here, defending units receive no terrain shifts this phase. This is really kind of crap, so they have to fight with what they have, and I think that's really bad news. So let's check the hand-to-hand combat table here. The Zeds have an advantage, though they don't have a double, but they still have the advantage, so we have to go for this column. Normally would be able now to move over to the right shift column, so to the equal column. That would be awesome, because we might still lose our civilians unit, but we might also be able to get rid of the zombies at the same time. But yeah, let's see. Because we still have to roll some dice, and if we would roll a 12, this would be enough to get rid of those zombies and we wouldn't take any points of damage. So let's see. Okay, that's really weak. That's only a 5. So this means we get 3 hits, but the zombie horde also takes 1 hit, but unfortunately this is not enough to kill them. So let's get those guys another hit. They always get their hits first, as far as I can remember, but it really doesn't matter here. Now we would have to retreat, but of course those guys are pretty much dead, but we still get our saving roll. And on the roll of 4 to 6, I get those units back to our town center. They would be on the weak side, but at least I would still have additional unit with me. So let's see. That's a 5. Awesome. We were lucky. So those guys pretty much make it back to the town center somehow. No one knows how they did it, but everyone is happy to see them back here at the town center. That was not too bad, so we were pretty lucky here. But of course we must not forget to activate this unit here as well, so they will just move 1 space ahead here to the 6th street. From the event card we get 2 event actions. That's not too bad. I think this is really something we can live with. And I'm really thinking of shooting again here on this space 6. So I will spend 1 ammunition. He still has a strength of 4. So let's roll 2 dice and hope for something pretty good. I think we are still looking for a 10 or more. Yeah, that's the case. Let's see. That's a 10. That's awesome. This is enough to get rid of those zombies here. This is really awesome. And of course, therefore, I had to spend the character action of Deputy Schmidt. Nice shooting, guy. With our first event action, I think I will do a forage action with Mr. Johnson here. Normally you are allowed to roll only 1 die, but because he is a scavenger, he's allowed to roll 2 dice and I get to pick the result. If I roll doubles, I get the result twice. So let's see what we do roll. That's a 6. awesome, which means in the town or in the town center with the 6 I get a bullet or a supply. Of course, we are not playing with supplies. In this case, I have to go with the bullets, but this was my plan after all. So he found a nice little box of ammunition. And I'm really thinking of having Captain Piazza shoot towards those guys here. Shooting at an adjacent target only gives her a strength of 2, and I think that's not really great. But shooting at a range at 3, 1, 2, 3, this gives her at least a strength of 3. I think this is what she will do, so she will spend her, the player action. And we are looking for some relatively high numbers, so we will not be able to take them out anyway. So even with a 10 or 12, we would only inflict 2 damage. Yeah, but still, let's do that. And I think I will skip the dice tower for now. I really don't need it with 2 dice. So we're looking for at least a 5. We want to inflict 1 damage, that's for sure. That's an 8. 8 is great because this means those guys get 2 hits. That's not really bad. And I'm really thinking of using her Overwatch ability, which lets her move away. She could take those guys with her, but I think right now that's not really necessary. So she will just move away, and I nearly forgot that we still have to reduce our ammunition. So we are down to 3. What should I do with the last action? Actually, I think we should try to forage again. So let's spend the last event action. Yeah, let's do that. Let's roll the dice. That's really poor. Not really successful. Not even on a 4 or something like that. Yeah, we have to live with that. Okay, let's go into the housekeeping phase. Let's flip all those tokens. Let's get rid of the event card and let's draw the next one. And now we do have some kind of a problem. We have the Highway Night Assault. This guy's the highway track gets activated twice, and at the beginning of this phase we would have to place a new Zeds unit on the highway track's space. And again, we don't get a terrain shift in this phase. This is really awful because first of all, we have to spawn a new group, and this is a 9. So in total, we are looking at a strength of 15 that's marching towards Farmingdale. And yeah, now those guys gets activated. This is the first activation. This is the second activation. So we will see a hand-to-hand combat taking place now. They are no longer defiant. Let me assure you this. And yeah, this is pretty easy peasy because they're definitely 3 times stronger than we are. So basically only on the roll of 12 something not so bad would happen. Everything else would be really devastating for us. So let's see what we roll. That's a 9. A 9 means we are taking 2 hits. We have to flip it. And unfortunately, the zombies don't get any hits. Of course, we have to retreat. That's basically shown by this background color here. So let's move those guys back towards the nuclear plant up there. There's still another bad news because we only get 1 event action this round. This really sucks because it will be really tough to move some folks over there, and we still have 1 additional group approaching Farmingdale here up the forest track. So overall things really start to look a little bit grim. Okay, first of all, this guy has to spend his character action. He needs to move back and make it somehow to the highway track, that's for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. With 1 event action, we want to move Mr. Johnson also closer to the action. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a ranged shot, so he will not be able to shoot towards those guys here down in Ingeborg. That's really a pity. I'm also not convinced that she is needed down there anymore. Of course, there are still two zombie hordes approaching on the Suburbs track, but I think overall those guys should be able to deal with them. They're basically one hit away from being completely annihilated, and those guys down there also already have 2 hits on them. So I think we really want to leverage her player action, or basically the player action for her. Not sure why I'm doing this, because again, I could also use the event action for her, but I want to move her also closer to the action. Maybe I will keep the deputy somewhere more central to have him, let's say, react a little bit. So I think having those guys all the way to at the end of those tracks is, I think, really kind of a problem, because you always have to move them back. So I think some of those guys should remain more or less a little bit centrally, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So she would be here on the interstate track. If she would have one more action left, no, 1, 2, 3, no, this would not be enough to shoot towards those guys in Ingeborg anyway. And I think we have to basically call it a day. We will not be able to leverage the leadership ability of Sheriff Hunt again, but yeah, I think we have to live with it. So let's just discard the card, let's reset the round, and then let's draw our next event card. And it's really not getting prettier, that's for sure. So we have the Zeds disease quickening. We are still in Act 2. As you can see, we will have 3 activation, 2 on the forest track, which is kind of a problem. And at the beginning of this phase, make a fate draw. Place a new Zeds unit on the start space of the fated track. And something else will happen during this turn. For each regular civilians unit eliminated or sent to the hospital after its saving roll, place a new Zeds unit on the space where it was killed. Isn't that nice? But we still have to apply the stacking limit if necessary. First, let's do our fate draw. And this time we are kind of lucky. First of all, we can choose where to spawn the new zombie unit. That's a good thing. And we get the hold for later card, a killdozer. Play this card when a player unit begins a hand-to-hand attack for a 2 right shift in that fight. This is really a great card. But first of all, let's draw a new zombie unit, and I think I will place this zombie unit on the mountain track here. So what do we have here? That's a 6. Okay, that's not too bad. And now we have to do the activation. First, on the highway track, this is a problem, because those guys are now pretty much toast, that's for sure. Let's see how good they roll. That's definitely not enough to inflict any wound. That's a 5. No wound here. So those guys are dead, and unfortunately they are returning as zombies here. During this turn, for each regular civilian unit eliminated or sent to the hospital after to place a new Zeds unit on the space where it was killed. So yeah, those guys are certainly dead. So I think we don't see another saving roll. Or should we still do the saving roll for each? No, that's fine. We can still do the saving roll. Let's see. That's a 3. No, those are dead. That's for sure. Let's draw a new zombie unit. So this is a 4, which means the stronger always go first. In this case, I really think they are not moving ahead, at least how I would understand it. But yeah, overall that's bad enough, it seems. And yeah, here we see our first unit in the cemetery. Of course, we still have to activate the forest track twice. So here's the first activation, there is the second activation. So we will see a hand-to-hand combat here. They get a right shift, and I think I will use those veterans of foreign war or something like that. That's this troop. And yeah, they basically get a right shift, and they will never retreat. This is maybe a good news, not so sure, but let's see how well they do. Unfortunately, zombies have a strength multiplied by 3. They have a strength of 10. The other ones have a strength of 3. That's certainly 3 times, but we get at least 1 right shift because we are defending St. Thomas. So yeah, So most ideally we would get a cool result down there. So let's see how well they do. That's a 7. 7 is not great, because it means we are simply getting 3 hits. Yeah, we cannot really help it. So first hit, second hit, we have to flip it, and the third hit. Luckily, those guys are still doing quite okay, I guess, but they will never retreat. So in this case, those guys will be moved back here to space number 5. And of course, I almost forgot. The defined marker goes away, but they still keep this, what was it, well-armed token right with them. And this was pretty much the activation of the zombies. But there are also good news. We are getting 3 event action. This is something. And yeah, I guess let's do some shooting with our Mr. Johnson. So let's spend one of our valuable ammunition. And because he's using heavy weaponry, he gets a right shift of 2. Which is, I think, not too bad. So let's see, so basically like he would have a 5 in strength. Let's roll some dice. That's a 9. So normally would be here. We get a right shift of 2. So we would be here. And a 9 means we are inflicting 3 points worth of damage. And this is pretty good, because this is pretty much enough to flip either of those units. We can really freely decide which units we are applying those hits. So let's see. This would go to a 4. This would go to a 4. So we will totally wound those guys here. So we just reduced this zombie mark by 5 strength points. And this is really quite a lot. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. Not sure if this is a good thing, but I think I will spend the leadership token of Sheriff Hunt here. He will give those guys an order to shoot towards this zombie horde. I'm just doing that because their first gunfire attack cost 0 ammunition, which is kind of good news, but they only have a strength of 2 in gunfire combat, so they really have to roll pretty high in order to inflict any point of damage. So let's see, that's a 5. And yeah, a 5 means they're doing 0 damage here. Wow. I think we are really running out of luck here relatively soon. So I guess I will move back to the highway track, because there are also some problems waiting over there. So we will spend 1 additional action. We will spend 1 piece of ammunition to activate this guy again. He will shoot towards those guys again. Let's roll his 2 dice. He's still using heavy weapons, which is okay, I guess. That's a 7. And this means he inflicted 2 points worth of damage. And I think I will put those hits on this one, because if we would get rid of those, we would lose again 4 points worth of strength. He would only flip them to 4 points. So that's only a net win of 2 points of strength. So I think this is the better choice here. Then I will spend 1 event action and 1 of our player actions here in order to activate Captain Piazza. So she will use her ammunition crafting ability, so she doesn't have to spend an ammunition. And of course she will shoot towards those guys. 1, 2, 3 spaces. So she has a strength of 3 now, and really hope for something good now, please. That's an 8. And this isn't that bad, because we inflicted 2 more hits now, which basically means those guys are dead or double dead, and those guys get additional point of damage. So I think overall that wasn't too bad from her, and at least we didn't spend any ammunition now. And I believe then I want to move Deputy Schmidt also closer to the action, because I really have to send him back to the town center in order to do some foraging. He could also stay here. Okay, first of all, let's activate his initiative ability to move him 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces here to space number 1 on the highway track. And yeah, those were pretty much all of our reactions for this round. This was really devastating round, but I think there is nothing we can do about it. So again, let's discard this event card. Let's flip all of our tokens, and then we would be pretty much good to go for our next round. But I think I will end my playthrough for today, give you a little overview about how things are looking at this point in time. Here I think we are a little better off right now. The problem is there, we don't have any ammunition, so this guy really needs to do some foraging anytime soon. Those guys are still 2 spaces away from this guy's here at Lefty's Pass, but I think overall we really have still some things to take care of in our next episode of my playthrough of Dawn of the Zeds. And yeah, I really hope you're still enjoying my little playthrough of Dawn of the Zeds here in the 3rd edition. Really a tense game already, and I'm only playing the basic game here, and things are really getting very tight, which I like a lot. So really you get into it, and I really nearly forgot to stop recording here, but I think I don't want to keep the episodes too long, because this also increases the chance of me doing a lot of mistakes, and this way I can still maybe revert 1 or 2 errors if I made any. And again, please send me in all your comments, all your suggestions on what I should do, what I should change my playing style, maybe any tactical or strategic tips. Please share them with me, and I will really try to put them into the decision making process in the next episode. Hope to see you soon, and until then, bye bye.